Can you all see the screen, masters? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's on slide slide
Yes.
mode, sir. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Namaste to all and welcome to this session. Book club, this wisdom sharing session on this book, The Buddha's Wife. Let's continue with the story. There are paths to free us from suffering. We can cultivate our well-being by concretely applying mindfulness to our daily living. Right? There are paths to free us from suffering. Yashodhara has found out her own path. So let us see what she has done here. So in my previous session, we stopped here. She has practically understood the meaning of this third noble truth of Buddha's teaching, and Channa will bring the news of this Buddha and his multitude Sangha was coming towards the palace, right? So far we know the story, right? So let's move further. Here, next what happens? Siddhartha will send a message to the king that he wished to come to the palace to meet with him. Right? So king will grant a wish in a formal message saying that he would meet him in the receiving room of the grand hall of the palace. Now, Shuddhodhana is ready to meet Siddhartha. Right? So he'll ask him, come and we will meet there in the receiving hall of the palace. For this, Pajapati will say, let it be very less formal because he's our son, right? We can meet him in one of the family rooms. But king says, he is the enlightened one now with some sarcasm, right? So that is why I'll sit on our royal throne to maintain his status. His little bit of sarcastic mode he's telling. That means the Shuddhodhana is still angry with Buddha. He's not ready to receive him, right? So here Buddha entered the far down the vast chamber. He's coming here. Look at this picture, right? So followed by other monks, four monks, his followers, right? So as soon as he enters the room, the bright sunlight of the afternoon was at their back, right? Imagine this particular scene. It's beautiful. He's entering the hall here. Look at this picture here. Both the queen and king are there sitting on the thrones here, and he's entering this particular hall, right? Along with four monks here. So there is a sunlight behind them, and they are walking towards the king and queen in that hall. So when he saw the Siddhartha's face, Shuddhodhana, the harsh light behind his walk, it was different from any he had ever seen in his child, in anyone else, right? So his face was like that, right? So here he saw them, all the monks and the Buddha, they were barefoot, clothed in saffron robe, and they were all carrying wooden begging bowl, right? So with this attire, they'll enter the room there. So king will again, by seeing that wooden begging bowl and all those robes, and by seeing Siddhartha, again the resentment of Siddhartha's renunciation rose inside him once again. He again got all those negative emotions there by seeing his son in that robe and in that this thing place, right? So afterwards, what happens? Buddha will go and he'll bow to him, and in that chamber, right? So with a smile, clasps his palms together and bow to his father. Then looking into his mother's eyes, he bowed to her, right? Then he turned towards all who had gathered there, and he smiled to, he gave a smile and bowed to each and every one of them in that particular hall, right? So here, king was shaped at the change in Siddhartha. King is observing his son there. He's searching for his son, right? But searching the young man who he had loved the most, right? So, but his son is not, he is not there. Siddhartha is not there, right? In the form of Siddhartha, Buddha is standing there, right? So he observes his son had indeed become the awakened one, right? A king in his own realm. That Buddha has become the king in his own realm. He is observing. Shuddhodana is observing, right? So here, Siddhartha spoke few words of gratitude for being with them, right? Now, the king is observing the Siddhartha here, right? He seemed to him that he was not his son, right? Standing there before him, not really anyone's son, but a presence, right? He looked radiant, happy, healthy, beautiful, and full of life, right? So the king is observing all these things. Now, what happens? King will offer a lunch to these people, all these monks, to partake in a celebration of his return. He invited him to come and sit with his mother at the royal table there, right? But so Siddhartha says, we have eaten already for today, right? And when the king observes that Siddhartha holding the begging bowl, right? Siddhartha will be holding the begging bowl, right? So when he observes that, the king replies, our clan, the Sakyans, do not beg, right? And now the Siddhartha will reply, I am now one of those who beg. At that, the king understood that he was no longer one of them. He would not be returning to stay, right? By listening to Siddhartha's words, I am now one of those who beg. That means he understood that Siddhartha will not be returning to the palace, right? Then king will ask Yashodhara and Rahula to come and meet with Siddhartha, right, in that chamber. But Yashodhara will send a message saying that if Siddhartha wished, he could come to her. She'll not come to that chamber. If Siddhartha wished, then he could come to her. Right? So Siddhartha, Shuddhodana was very silent by listening to his words, and again the sorrow fills in his heart, right? So, and Pajapati was observing her son here, right, in that particular hall, right? She wanted to touch him. She felt a rush yearning to touch him, right? He was her son. But what happens? She realized that she was stopped not by his distance, but by his closeness, right? Not by his reserve or stature, but by his kindness. She stopped by his kindness itself. She wanted to go and hug him or touch him, but she stopped because of that kindness on his face, right? And now, when the king was upset with Siddhartha's words, Siddhartha will say, you don't need to suffer about this, father. And I'm here with you now, and with my dear mother also. Now, Siddhartha is observing his mother. He's looking at her. By looking at her only, he will understand the maturity level in her, his mother, right? Her acceptance, her peacefulness, and her dignity, right? And these king and queen will ask sorry that Yashodhara has not come to meet you, right? And then she has refused and asked us to tell you that she is keeping Rahula away until she herself meets with you first, right? That is her condition. So then Siddhartha says, then I'll go to her. As he walked away with monks, he said to them, if she touches me, he is telling this to those monks there, if she touches me, though it is forbidden in our Sangha for a woman to touch a monk, let her. Respect her grief and great suffering from my abandonment of her honor and our son. Look at the depth of those emotions or feeling, right? Respect the grief and great suffering, right? So with this, Buddha will enter. He will walk towards Yashodhara, right? Buddha felt the depth of her suffering there, right? So he walks towards her, and Yashodhara was overwhelmed with feeling and fell to the ground sobbing, right? When Buddha saw Yashodhara, he felt the depth of her suffering there, right? Images flashed back and forth before her eyes. How Siddhartha was earlier here, right? During her marriage and when he became father, all those things, earlier stages, right? Then how now what is there in front of her eyes, right? So here that those emotions are fluctuating there, going forth and coming back, right? Now here she has seen earlier, this is for the first time she's seeing Buddha, right? So Siddhartha was earlier restless, tormented, and sensual lover and husband. But now this calm, open-eyed, and fully awakened the Buddha, even is observing, right? So as the monks watched, it was very surprising for them. A single tear flowed slowly down the Buddha's cheek, right? Even Yashodhara will observe this. Yashodhara was unsure what it meant. The tear was her only glimpse into his sorrow, right? Even it was not easy for Buddha also, right? And that only that moment he was like that for a moment, right? She is observing Buddha. His eyes had never wavered, a constant serenity and compassion in them, right? All at once, she understood that he was no longer to be her husband, right? Without any communication here, she is observing him, and she understood, right, that he was no longer to be her. Everything is in silence only, right? She was profoundly touched by his immensity, his abiding presence there. He doesn't have to speak anything there. He himself is speaking, his personality is speaking there, right? Kindness, compassion, everything. She felt like a strong wind entered her body and lifted her up, right? She felt something inside her by seeing Buddha there, right? She was expecting Siddhartha, but now he's Buddha there, right? Even Buddha observes her transformation too, right? How she was earlier Yashodhara, right? And now what she has become, right? So even that what we call in spiritual tablets soul scanning, it's happening there between both husband and wife, right? She had sense of him seeing deeply into her own transformation, right? She felt he was seeing into depth of her struggle and light of her spiritual attainment. She was not the previous Yashodhara, right? She was no longer the woman he had loved and left behind. She has changed too, right? So then she feels that instant liberation from the past, breaking free and willing to let go. At that moment, when for the first time she meets Buddha, she'll feel something else only. Earlier, all those questions, so many things were there in her mind, right? But here, at that moment, she wanted to let go of everything, whatever has incident has happened earlier, right? But thinking of Rahula, again, her son came in front of her eyes, right? In front of her eyes. Then thinking of Rahula, she flushed at her son's loss and her own desperation and lonely rage at the abandonment of and the betrayal. Right? She's so very much worried about her son's future. Right? At that moment, she wanted to forgive Buddha, but because of her son's future, right? Again, all those emotions started coming to her mind, right? Now she says it was time for Rahula to meet his father, right? So next, Rahula enters that hall, that room. He was now he's 7 years old, right? He came with Channa, but he was very shy and hid behind his mother, right? And Buddha, now for the first time, he is meeting his son there. And Yashodhara says to her son, receive him as your father, right? She said to Rahula, claim your inheritance. Claim your inheritance from your father, right? So Rahula will ask, what does that mean? Then she will explain to him, right? Here, inheritance means knowledge, whatever knowledge or wisdom he has gained from that in those 7 years, she is asking her son to receive those things from him, right? So now Buddha will observe this. He was looking at this mother and this thing, son here, right? He was keenly observing, right? So here, as she spoke, the Buddha was moved when she was talking to her son, and he understood that she had protected and nurtured his son to be ready to receive his father, right? And to neither hate him or nor reject him, right? Now she has Buddha will understand how she has protected her child, right? And the way of that nourishment, right? Now Buddha held out his begging bowl and smiled, and he offered him the bowl there, right? And now he turned to leave. He'll not say anything to his son, or he's not talking to Yashodhara there, right? Everything is happening in the silence only. But with this, Yashodhara is not satisfied here. She'll ask him, I must have another meeting with you, right? And afterwards, he says, and she says, it will be best if we are alone. Now, everybody were there, right, in that hall, right? The 4 monks were there, Channa was there, everybody was there, were there, along with these two husband and wife, right? But now she says, I want to meet you alone. Then he says, yeah, in the pine grove, we will meet. He nodded, and then for the first time he spoke. Yes, I will meet with you alone there tomorrow at dusk. Right? So here, that pine grove, earlier they used to sit there, right? Both husband and wife. That had been their special place, right? In their palace itself, right? So here they'll go and sit there. So that particular place was sanctified with their love, their youth and marriage, and the birth of Rahula, right? So he closed his eyes and sat for meditation, right? Now, looking at him, she understood. She was she is observing Buddha there, right? She saw there was a majesty about him now. Not a kingly majesty, but a holy one. Right? He is sitting in a meditation there in that pine grove. Now, this Yashodhara starts the conversation. Now, I have heard from Channa about your teachings. With Channa's instructions, we have tried to practice them here. I am happy about that. Right? So she is telling everything, what all they did. She wanted to tell him each and everything, whatever she has gone through in those 7 years. Right? Then she continues, after you left, Siddhartha, she was about to tell Siddhartha, she stopped, wondering if he would have a reaction to using his name. Now he is Buddha, right? He smiled a broad, expansive smile and nodded for her to go on, right? So next, what happens? She continues. She's telling us, I'll request you all to be there in that character. Be there in Yashodhara's position or Buddha's position, whatever characters we are going through now in this story. Feel those emotions, right? Then only you will understand the depth of suffering there, what all they have gone through, right? So here, this Yashodhara is telling, my desperation, my desperate suffering brought out from Pajapati and all the women, and astonishing compassion. What Channa says, you have taught as the force of loving kindness. It saved my life and the life of our child. Right? So she began to share that journey, right? We walked that journey for 7 years, right? Since you left, right? She is telling the entire story there, what all she has done, that compassion circle, or we have called it the path of right relation, right? And she made amends, asked for forgiveness, for her suspicion and doubt of him after he left. Right? She's asking for forgiveness here. Right? So next, fresh tears came to her eyes. Tears of relief and gratitude. You have described the truths that will end suffering. The path is one you yourself took alone, leaving the worldly things behind. The path of he who goes forth. Right? Sitting in meditation until the end of suffering became clear, and then offering this to all. It is a blessing to all. She is appreciating Buddha there, whatever that teachings are there, right? You found all, you have discovered all those things and the truths that will end suffering, right? And you are offering those teachings to everyone, right? She is appreciating him and his teachings there, right? And by listening to this, and again she continues, despite my best right intention, you are the person who will always be my beloved. He laughed gently and nodded, right? He listened and said, I too am making amends now to you and through you. To the others, dear one, I am profoundly sorry. Buddha is asking for forgiveness there, right? So when I was studying this architecture in 10th semester, we had this professional practice. Whatever we have learned so far in the nine semesters, we have to apply those rules and all those things, whatever we have learned so far, right? In that professional practice, in that particular semester. Here, these two husband and wives are very, very professional, right? Whatever they are teaching, whatever they are practicing, right? They are applying it here, especially in this moment. Both of them, look at their maturity level. एक minute, if husband comes late from office, or children comes late from school, how we will react? Look at her maturity level there. She is not showing any anger or any frustration, anything. Very professional way. She is bringing that conversation there, right? Buddha, by seeing his personality, we can understand, right? But how she is controlling her all those emotions there, right? First, she is appreciating him for his teachings. Then she's telling all about what all she has done in that circle, what all she has learned, right? Then she asked for forgiveness, right? By seeing her, Buddha will also ask for forgiveness there. They're making the amends there, right? So she was astonished at his words, right? Again, she continues. Who are all there, were there in that circle? They called it as a path of right relation, right? Circle with Channa, King Shuddhodana, Rahula, everybody there. And she stresses upon this. None of them had to leave their lives here to become more awakened and alive. Indirectly, she is telling him, right? So I have retained all those paragraphs like that only because to feel those emotions, right? Here, even she tells this, Channa and I have shared that what we call as a spiritual friendship, right? That means everybody is there in our circle, both men and women, including children, Rahula also, right? So next she continues, my question to you, dear one, is this. Is there another path? The path of she who stays? The path of right relation? Is it necessary to go forth alone and leave all you love behind in order to be holy and whole? Is it necessary? She's asking. Or is it also possible to live in the world? She went on, to live deeply and truly in everyday suffering of the world, to stay with others and to walk through that together into awakening, the path that we women have walked, perhaps always, but has not yet been illuminated as a holy path. Can there not be a practical path, walked hand in hand with ordinary, particular others, one by one, family by family, community by community, with others, to the end of suffering? Right? She took a deep breath in and let it out slowly. This path, perhaps this hidden path, hidden from the eyes of the great world, is this not a true sacred path and holy life? As much as the monastic? Right? So here, I'm stunned by this maturity level of hers, because she's not asking only for her. She's asking for the entire community there. Right? Because many of them were following Buddha. Many of them had already left their homes. They were following Buddha there. Right? So she's not only worried about herself, she's asking for the entire community. Is there any different path? Right? So he sat absolutely still. She waited. Finally, he spoke. Your journey, Yashodhara, is deep and strong. You and others have discovered this for yourself, as I have for myself and all beings. I offer you my teachings. I have taught 3 jewels, the 3 refuges of this path, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Right? So he'll continue. You have begun with Sangha. I have taught these 3 jewels, right? Buddha, Dharma, Dharmam Gacchami, and Sangam Sharanam Gacchami, right? So you have begun with Sangha, with wisdom and compassion arising within community. Right? So now that spiritual friendship is the whole of the holy life, he says. It is one path with many doors. Right? It is one path. We can enter from any door here. Many paths, many doorways are there to enter this path. Right? She went on, dear one, what might be of benefit? What teaching and practices offered for 2 or more sat together under Bodhi tree? Can these paths be woven together? He was silent for a moment, and she sensed the depth of his considering this. Right? Now Buddha, anyway, he is Buddha, right? He is very smart with his this thing, with awareness, with consciousness only he'll speak, right? So here Yashodhara says, can we go forth together now? It was a moment as charged as that between life and death. Right? Can we go forth together now? Look at her that feeling there. Right? What is there in her mind? Can we go forth together now? right? Is there any other path there? He answered her beautifully. It is one path with many doors, right? We have started with Sangha, right? So finally he said, we will see what will be seen. This is only to be understood in the unfolding. He's not giving her any answers there. He's leaving it to the future. Future will unfold everything, right? We will see what will be seen, right? So Yashodhara, she who stays, follow your teaching and live your understanding with all your heart. He's telling her, right? Indirectly, he's telling, I'm not coming back, right? And we can't go together also, right? That path is different and this path is different. He's not telling my path is right, your path is right or wrong, whatever, right? So it is one path with many doors, right? So he will leave with that this thing only. Again, they sat together there in silence, alone in silence, right? The silence was filled and she felt the depth of care and gratitude there, right? Again, he did not say any goodbye. In his presence in the circle, she says, I had entered a timeless state. It might have minutes or hours. I don't know. She had entered a timeless state, right? Here, she felt this incredible mixture of joy and sorrow, right? So, like sunrise and sunset together. Sunrise is for her son's future, right? Now she doesn't have to worry about her son or son's future, right? She has given that this thing to Buddha only. Buddha only has to take the son's this thing, right? Now she is very much relieved. Even Rahula is going to follow Buddha only, right? And she felt this incredible mixture of joy and sorrow together. I knew that would be the last time I would ever see him or speak with him alone. I felt happiness, but tears came too. As she was narrating this story to that circle, she is telling this. That would be the last time I would ever see him alone or meet him alone, right? So here again, she has got both the feelings there, right? Happiness and sorrow, right? So now she says, my treasure son was standing at the edge of the circle, trying to find me, with the begging bowl in his hand, right? Then he saw my tears and he ran across the circle to me as fast as he could, and I lifted him up into my arms, right? When our children are living for this hostel or for higher studies or whatever, how worried we will be, right? How tensed, how worried. Now she herself has agreed to this and she's ready to send her child with his father there. He'll not be visiting her again. She'll not be meeting him, right? As a son, as her son, right? So, so much knowledge she had gained from that circle, and that experience had given this strength to her. She had followed this spirituality, that spirituality had given so many things to her. Earlier, the Ashodhara, when we started with the story, she was not like this, right? She was not ready to accept everything there. Now, she has embraced, accepted everything, whatever is coming to her, right? She has become so strong now. And she is ready to send her son along with his father there, right? How hard it must have been to her, but she's ready to take that hardship, right? So here the reflections are from this story, this particular sessions. The power of the path of right relation, how she has embraced it, the responsibility, one path with many doors. There's no wrong and right path there, right? Everything is right only, right? Inculcating the qualities of acceptance, forgiveness, kindness, compassion, gratitude, right? So all these things she had inculcated there in that circle when they were practicing, right? Compassion and acceptance arose. A circle of wisdom and healing, providing a vessel for knowing, holding, and transforming the suffering. Right? So here, challenges bring opportunities. Right? Yashodhara has embraced her challenges and learned from them. And she gave her entire time, energy, everything, right, for the whole community. And she has associated with people there in the community, right? She did all these things, and establishing trust is important in relationships, right? She was able to do all these things there in that circle, right? And the most important thing is, to survive and grow, we must be willing to change. To survive and to grow, we must be willing to change, right? So here the Buddhas emphasized the solitary path, right? Be a light unto yourself, apo dipo bhava, right? These were his last words. But now Yashodhara, the path of right relationship, right? She's taking that path, right? And she says, sometimes you need the light of others to see the way. Sometimes you need the light of others to see the way. Sometimes you need to be a light for others. Sometimes you need to be a light for others. This is her level of understanding. This is her experience there, right? So this is how Yashodhara has embraced her responsibility, and she has accepted whatever has come to her, right? With wholeheartedly, with a struggle, right? So much struggle she had to undergo, but still she is standing strong in front of Buddha. She's equally strong there, right? So this is how she grows around her grief. With this, I'll conclude my session, and subsequent sessions will be taken by our next teammate Swarna ma'am in upcoming sessions. Thank you. Thank you all. Heartfelt gratitude to each and everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepa ma'am. Thank you very much. And masters, if anyone wants to share, or if you have a question to be clarified, yeah, please.
Yes,
you, Deepa
ma'am.
ma'am.
Lakshmi. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepa ma'am. Yeah, what I could see in today's session was how Buddha left everything, that is the Sangha, and he went and isolated himself and gained the energy. Whereas Yashodhara started with Sangha and went to her own self in the circle. So something like, a point and a point dispersion by Buddha, and vice versa with Yashodhara. They're both in an opposite direction, yet, they are, complementing each other. No matter what we choose, but ultimately both of them had the same thing. They had drawn the same destination, probably the compassion. We could see how Buddha was listening to her, hearing her. Forgiveness, he did ask her, and she probably gave it. Yeah, and allowed her son to again follow the same path. She is not against the path, but she wanted to know, can I be a part of it? For which probably he is still not prepared, because that could be a part which is such a inwardly, I don't know, but I felt is a weakness to him, which probably he cannot stand still. Whereas she, as an Yashodhara, because she has learned to live in Sangha and be with them, there's no difference to her, and she has the strength to be with him even when he is Buddha, and consider him as Buddha, no more as his husband, and yet serve the Sangha. But for Buddha, it is something which he has renounced, he has left back everything, and he wanted to know that path. So probably this book brings us both paths to show as in what you are made up of, what is that will help you. And in today's era, I feel I have nothing bias over here, but the all challenges what we feel today is as if we are more of Yashodhara. I today felt I am a part as a Buddha also, because I have to live my things and still give my own importance. Though we are living in family, we have to give that time to ourselves, renounce our all work, and yet focus on our own soul. That's what is a part of Buddha in me. And at the same time, when I am out in a worldly part, I have to be an Yashodhara to have that Sangha around you. Yeah, these were today's my own intake. Thank you. Thank you, Deepa ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Yeah, we have both the characters in ourselves, Buddha as well as Yashodhara. Right, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, Jasbir ma'am. Go ahead. I'll have to unmute him. One second.
Yeah, just
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody here, and good evening to all who are in the other part of the world. Sir, I feel so blessed to be a part of this group, and I have read so many books, but I think this is going to be one of my favorites because, as I always say, when we did the concept of the warrior, I always relate myself also as a warrior because of my own personal issues, how I came out of them. Sir, that means practically the golden middle path, the credit actually goes to Yashodhara, though I'm not seeing it in a very philosophical way, that the way just now it was discussed that we have Buddha and Yashodhara both in us. I agree, but then the golden middle path which Patrisa talks about, that to take care of your all your daily, chores and duties and family, and also being aware of yourself and your life's purpose. So that relates more to the Yashodhara, right? So, and me being a woman in this life, I've always encouraged, because I did not want to be the bichara types, when I was having a little problem. I always relate, I try and help my friends and colleagues, especially women who are suffering, because I stay in India. Here, the society is a little more patriarchal than where you people are. So, women have a lot of problems, even coming from good, rich families, they still have a male dominated society. So, I've always stood up for them and tried to, in fact, I get angry with women who are not strong enough. So maybe all these things, that's why I'm relating more to Yashodhara. And I'm finding this a very, very practical book, how we should be leading our life. So in a way, of course, I have been reading, the teachings of Buddha and everything. But I still feel if I had to choose, I would rather be a Yashodhara, and not, she did not give up, she was more of a warrior. So I relate to them more. And yes, of course, we have both the qualities. We need to cultivate both of them in us. So I'm really thankful that I'm a part of this book, and I'm totally loving it, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaspreet ma'am.
Yeah, India ma'am.
Yes, Deepa ma'am, good morning, and beautiful, beautiful session. I'm sorry I missed the earlier session, but I'm glad I was able to join today. It's noisy here, so I was waiting to unmute. Very, very beautifully you summarized at the end, and the emotions of a mother, how about the son also, and how she had to accept Buddha the way he is. But more than that, like just Bhima was saying and you were saying, I've seen all the, through all this travel through with us as a Sangha in this group, and this journey with this book. I've seen Yashodhara in almost every one of us, including me, and how we, when we were face challenged, how we stayed and stuck and like be a warrior, came out of it. I also saw just recently, even in my friend, when I attended her wedding, how her husband wanted to pursue his own passion and he never supported, and he was there taking care of himself most of the time. She was the one who raised the kid and she got him married. That's where I went to attend. And I could see a warrior in her, and she was the one who stayed and took care of her parents and the son, and a true Yashodhara I saw in her too. So I can see this in all our lives and all around us. Very beautiful. Yeah, I see more Yashodharas than Buddhas definitely, but very beautiful story too. And it like just my mom said, it was one of my favorite books now too. The other thing about multiple doors to the same path too, I feel as we were relating, and Yashodhara was telling Buddha, is there another path? And I was thinking, even between me and my husband, I'm trying the spiritual path. I'm trying to see, how it helps. And at the same time, I see he's totally into his work, and he wants to work and take responsibility of the family that way. And that's his path. And I feel that is fine too, because, that is the way he sees it. And then friends, I see some of them, they do bhakti marg. We have been given these different paths. And if you're sincere in your path, you have your own path. So yes, there are many doorways. So I don't feel like I should just show this one path to everyone. This works for me, and it is beautiful. So thank you.
Yes, Vinaya ma'am. Right. She accepts everything there. When Buddha was there, she's not showing any anger or anything there. She's accepting him wholeheartedly. She was ready to let go of everything that has happened to her. So that is the knowledge she has got from this spirituality. Even indirectly, she has learned from Buddha only, right? That
That's what I was going to say.
all
That
the teachings. Yeah.
yes,
Chenna, yeah, used to bring all those things to her, right? So both of them have sacrificed their life, and they have given us this beautiful wisdom there. Both are important. Both are equally sacrificed their lives. Even it was not at all easy for Buddha to leave and go, and again he'll come back. And she wanted that acknowledgement from him, right? So that is why she was telling all those things. That story she told. Indirectly, she was telling everything. And finally, when he said many doors will be there, she has accepted, right? And she was ready to send her child to that path only. Again, she has understood the importance of that path there. That is a beautiful story. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I can't turn the video on. I don't have enough internet. So okay. Thank you. You look beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
you. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody would like to share? Yes, Gayatri, ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful session. Good morning to all. Wonderful session, Deepa ma'am. You can see here Yashodhara's transformation from how it was so difficult, so difficult for Freddie. It was such a human emotion of despair, rejection. How can he leave and go? From that, and trying to transcend to a place of strength, acceptance, trying to help herself through self-love, self-compassion, and helping herself and forming the Sangha through heartfelt sharing, reaching out to other people, and to a place of strength. And finally, definitely acceptance, lot of acceptance, and following what Buddha was teaching in some other place and trying to implement that in the Sangha, and finally achieving that place of transcendence and peace as Buddha is, what Buddha did away from his own folks. Such a beautiful transformation. I mean, it just gives so much of hope for each one of us that we can reach a place out of all despair in life. We can see hope and reach to a place like that of peace and serenity and acceptance. Beautiful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, we should not we should never give up, and hope is the fuel of life, right? So that gives us the strength, right, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa ma'am. As you said, each one of us is Yashodhara, and there is no need to live anything. Being in our sansaras, we can ascend in our souls. So, taking care of our responsibility, doing everything that we have got to do towards our society. But still, we can take care of our Swadharma. And so beautifully, even though she was a queen herself, she had to go through whatever, she had to. And even if she had that will and wish to, again go with him, like, the way she asked, can we do it together? But still she had to accept even there that the rejection, and accept so wholeheartedly. So it's so great, we just crib so many times for little things. So there is so enormous, strength that she has given us today and given us lesson that each one of us has the strength to carry on. So we should never forget. All of us are warriors in our own ways, as just ma'am said. Hats off to Jaspir ma'am, and love to loads of love to her. And we should never give up on ourselves. We are so upset at times that we are not able to do this, that. We should remember at the end of the day, we are humans, and carry on. Thank you for the beautiful, beautiful session. And we want to hear one beautiful song. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Mohana Rupam.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the beautiful session. It was amazing. In the beginning, when they both meet each other, when you were saying that we should be involved in that character, before you were saying that, tears were rolling in my eyes because imagining from that perspective. But later on, it shifted. But yeah, it's a very deep thing. And when they both communicated, like when Yashoda was saying, "Can this two paths be combined?" and when Buddha said, the future will unfold, I just feel like they manifested our future now in their thoughts then. Now we are part of, like, we are living both the life together, like how Yashoda and mentioned, like, can both paths be combined? So I just feel like it's got manifested now for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Right. So we are harvesting that thing. She says no in the soil of suffering, whatever the seeds she has sown there, it is for the future. Now we are receiving all that thing, right? That wisdom. Both of them have given the wisdom there. Each one of them are equally important. They have sacrificed so many things, right? Even Buddha, he was a king there, prince, but he left all those things and leaving his wife and child. It needs this thing, strong souls only can take that path. Very, very strong. But again, at the same time, Yashodhara has imbibed that thing, right? Whatever was there inside her, hidden, she brought it out, right? And she has showed us the different path. So both are right. We have to follow whichever thing we feel right. But the middle path, you don't have to leave anything, any Yashodhara, any Rahula or Shuddhodana or Pajapati here. And these both women, Pajapati and Yashodhara, have showed their strength there. Right? They were able to manage everything there in the palace. Right? This is what we have to learn from this story. In spite of going through many challenges in our day-to-day life, we should not lose the hope there. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, as Naina ma'am has requested, a few lines for you, all of you, from this movie Unpad. आपकी नजरों ने समझा प्यार के काबिल मुझे दिल की धड़कन ठहर जा मिल गई मंजिल मुझे आपकी नजरों ने समझा जी हमें मंजूर है आपका ये फैसला जी हमें मंजूर है आपका ये फैसला, कह रही है हर नजर बंदा परवर शुक्रिया, हंस के अपनी जिंदगी में कर लिया शामिल मुझे, दिल की धड़कन ठहर जा, मिल गई मंजिल मुझे आपकी नजरों ने समझा, आपकी मंजिल हूँ मैं, मेरी मंजिल आप है, आपकी मंजिल हूँ मैं, मेरी मंजिल आप है। क्यों मैं तूफान से डरूं, मेरा साहिल आप है, कोई तूफानों से कह दे, मिल गया साहिल मुझे, दिल की धड़कन ठहर जा, मिल गई मंजिल मुझे आपकी नजरों ने समझा। थैंक यू। या हम सभी को एक मंजिल मिल गया है। या यस, या थैंक यू।
Thank you, Deepa ma'am. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सर।